So after having 2 weeks to think on it, I've been thinking about
what CM Punk could do now that he's gone from AEW, and these are the 5 things I think he could do now that he's gone. The first option is he could work for a different company. He could work for WWE possibly, or even smaller promotion like MLW or Ring of Honor. Well, not Ring of Honor because that's affiliated with AEW. Impact Wrestling is another option. The best option he could get would be WWE because obviously he'd be making the most money there. So that would be monetarily the best option. Given the man's net worth, I don't really think he needs the money. I don't think there's enough money that he can be offered from wrestling that he already hasn't made from wrestling. So, I mean, if making the most money is his goal, then I would say definitely he should go back to WWE. But honestly, I feel like at this point he doesn't need the money, and chances are WWE may not book him as strongly as he would like to be booked. He might just go there just to be fed to Roman Reigns. So honestly, I feel like in terms of, reestablishing and maintaining his legacy, he should probably go to a smaller company like MLW or Impact, where he would instantly be a star, would probably win the world title in his first night. But the second thing he could do is maybe start or join a podcast or just be a guest on that circuit of podcasts in the wrestling community, such as Cult of Cornette. I know Jim would love to have him there because he's a huge CM Punk dick rider. He could be on Cafe de Rene, where all they do is talk shit about him, and that would probably get some people interested. There's a bunch of podcasts he could do, or like I said, even start his own. It would probably be the most viewed podcast in the history of wrestling. Reason I say is because since his return to wrestling, whenever he has done something of significance, he's always been the topic of discussion for every major wrestling podcast out there. When the media scrum thing first happened last year, every major podcast in wrestling was talking about it. When he got fired last week because of the incident with Jack Perry, every wrestling podcast was talking about it. All this man had to do was pee on a leaf. All he could do was pee on a leaf, and everybody and their mother would be talking about it in the wrestling podcast universe. Or he can do one of those backstage shows like when he did WWE Backstage a few years ago, or be on one of those panels they have before a premium live event with WWE, which is basically the same thing as a podcast. So yeah, those are options as well. The third and fourth option would be acting, and when I say those are different options, it's because I mean different types of acting. He could do the traditional acting that, like he did on Heels and other various types of movies that he did, or he can do a different type of acting, which is more adult-oriented, maybe do it on a more adult-oriented platform like OnlyFans or Snapvid or Cam Soda, or whatever you want to call those sites. But I know personally I would love to see a video of AJ Lee getting pounded out. You got a hot piece of an ass for a wife, and hey, maybe, I know some guys dick ride him so hard they may just subscribe to his OnlyFans just to see him naked. I would definitely love to see AJ Lee, naked as shit getting pounded out, so that would be an option. And the fifth and final option, which would probably be the most satisfying option for him if it does work out, is to start a wrestling company. Because, he had a lot of major issues with AEW, obviously had major issues with WWE in the past. So, for him to start his own company and for it to at least be moderately successful. I know it wouldn't be hugely successful because he doesn't have the same budget as Tony Khan or WWE. But for it to have a nice following and all the wrestlers getting along together, that would be like the biggest FU to both WWE and AEW, because they all said, he was the problem child, he was the reason why things didn't work out. So for him to start his own company and for it to be successful would just be like a giant middle finger to everyone who said that about him, because it shows he's not the problem, maybe they were the problem. But those are my suggestions for what he should do next.
The thing I personally would love to see, but only if he's booked correctly, is for him to go back and wrestle for WWE. I honestly would not want to see him go up against Roman Reigns. I would rather him have feuds with guys like John Cena, who we said was one of his best opponents. Now that The Rock is coming back, he can face The Rock, and he can even go up against guys that maybe he's faced before on the indie circuit, but maybe hasn't faced on the bigger stage, like Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, or even guys that he's never faced before, but would be really good opponents for him because he would be compatible with them, like Finn Balor, Matt Riddle, so on and so forth. But anyway, that's all the suggestions I have. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. And yeah, hope you like the video, comment, subscribe, and what.